Hey, Danny here. Who does not love Noisia dead limit Reese? Like this stuff. And who doesn't love a Serum only preset for the main Reese? Let's jump into it. So the cool stuff in this sound is I didn't use anything besides Serum, so this is a pure Serum preset. And to be honest, a few months ago I tried to remake this sound using different methods, like, as I remembered, I used Serum, but I used several third-party effects like trash and other stuff, but that sound was not very accurate. But this time I think I just nailed it, and the best thing in this, I didn't use anything besides Serum. So this is the sound again. So this is the sound. If you want to download this preset, check the descriptions below. So the main principle behind this sound is distortion, as you may suggest. So the first thing is the filter. So the filter has a peak which really defines the character of the sound, because without that peak, you know, it just turns into a sort of distorted mess. And you know, distortion always reacts really well to these little peaks, what you can see here in the band EQ12. And the best thing in Serum filters is that they offer a drive. So I pushed up the drive here, and I use a different filter in the FX section, this MG Low 6 filter, where I pushed up the drive again. So we are driving our sound pretty heavily. Now let's go back to the effect. Let's go back to the oscillators. The main oscillator here is oscillator A, which contains lots of harmonics. The wavetable itself is not really important, because I think you can use anything which, you know, contains lots of harmonics. So in Serum factory presets or factory wavetables, there are tons of wavetables like this. So just use them, any of them, it doesn't really matter, because you will distort the crap out of them basically. Now I use Mirror, and I automated it using LE41, which is a simple triangle, and it is pretty slow. The purpose of this is only to add some movement to the sound, like random glitches and random modulations. So we can mimic it using this LE41, and it is very cool because, you know, it always stays the same. So it is not chaotic and it is not random, but we can control it, especially if you click on the trigger, which I didn't do, but it is totally fine. Now, this sound, oscillator B, just adds a little more fat, a little more depth to the sound. It is not very important, so you can disable it if you want. I just wanted to add some little dirt to it with the noise oscillator, because oscillator B is modulated by the noise oscillator. So it's just a little noise to the sound. But what is more important is the sub-oscillator, because as you can see, I use a simple sine wave. I didn't let it go directly out, because what I wanted to do is to add some low frequency energy to the distortion. So this is what makes the sound wobble. I pushed up the octave to 1, because as you can see, the octaves on oscillator A and oscillator B are on 0, but on the sub-oscillator it is up on 1. So this is why it basically acts like an amplitude modulation, and with the distortion it just blends together pretty nicely. So let me show you what the sub does. You can hear the difference is very clearly on higher notes like this, where the sound is not wobbling. So basically this is the only purpose of the sub-oscillator here. And nothing else here. I didn't use unison voices here. But of course I used voices, like the chorus. I added a chorus here, so I just pushed up the low pass filter, and you know, these are just random voices on the chorus. It doesn't really important what the settings are, you just want to have some chaotic addition to the sound. I didn't use the hyper and the dimension, as you can see it is pulled back totally, but what I did use is a distortion, which is pretty simple stuff here again. it adds some pretty nice top end to it. And I use the X shaper, but you know, this is only the factory preset. I didn't touch it. I just pushed out the drive to the maximum. And if you click on Edit A or Edit B, it is, you know, the same. I mean, these are factory sounds, factory presets basically. I didn't touch it. Now I did some flanger too, because the original sound, I can totally hear that it contains some flangy effect. But it is not very drastic. It behaves basically only on the top end, but it is there, so you can hear it. Now, the filter 2, I mean, the FX filter, we already described it. The only purpose of that is to add some drive, a little more drive to it. An OTT like always. And some cut on the lows. I added a reverb device, but as you can see, it is pulled back, so I didn't use any reverb now on the preset, but if you want, you can add it like pushing this macro up, the reverb macro. So this is a sound. It's pretty simple. As you can see, I didn't do too much to it, but the only thing what you must keep in mind that you need to add lots of crunch and lots of distortion. And it is pretty good that the filters contain these drives, and even some of them contains the fat knob, which doesn't add too much, but just a very slight amount of extra crunch to it. And of course the distortion module here in the FX section is pretty important, and the other drive on the secondary filter. So this is the sound. If you want to download this preset, check the descriptions below.